Good morning, and welcome to a brand new day. To get us started, please welcome the President of Visit Savannah and Chair of Destination and Travel Foundation Board of Trustees, Joe Marinelli.
Good morning. Good morning. That's better. Hey, how about that party last night? Wow, that was terrific. That stadium is really something special. Melvin, wherever you are, thanks to all of you and your team and your partners for putting on a terrific welcoming party last night. It was a great way to welcome everybody to your beautiful city. Let's hear it for Melvin and his staff. And listen, just to follow up on Bob Lander's comment yesterday, if anybody needs suggestions or ideas for Italian restaurants, I've got you covered. Just come and see me later. Thanks to all of you for getting up early this morning and joining us for what promises to be a productive and inspiring day. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of visiting with many of you at the Foundation Golf Outing. And as Bob mentioned, that Foundation Golf Outing is one of the primary fundraiser events for our foundation. The turnout was great, the weather was perfect, and I know that everybody really enjoyed playing the town and country course and had a great time. So please join me in congratulating the winning foursome from yesterday's golf tournament, Dave Radcliffe, Rick Wynn, Pretty Boy Doug Small, and Richard McKeegan. Congratulations, guys. I also want to be sure to thank Allie Best and her committee for putting together a terrific afternoon. We really enjoyed it. Allie, I know you're out there. Thank you for everything as well. Okay, let's get into it a little bit. The Destination and Travel Foundation is a 501c3 charitable organization. Now, the key word there is charitable. The foundation, as many of us like to call it, is central to providing the seed money necessary for the grant dollars that we use to provide valuable tools like Destination Next and the Event Impact Calculator. These are important tools for us, and we are planning a number of new research initiatives that are already in the pipeline that you'll hear more about in the coming months. Tools like these are designed to help you and your team work smarter and more efficiently. And as we all know, our world and industry is changing every single day. The research and programming that stems from the dollars that we gather through the foundation are absolutely critical, and most importantly, not only to us, but to those that will fill our chairs one day. This is something that I don't want anybody in this room to lose focus of. We are really planting those seeds for the future. Our foundation is led by an incredibly dedicated group of volunteer leadership. It's our board of trustees. And I would personally like to thank each and every one of them for their service. Ask them to stand and ask you to help me recognize them for their service. Board of Trustees for the foundation, please stand. Also, on behalf of the foundation, we would like to thank and recognize our outgoing trustees, and I think their names appear on the screen right now. I also want to say thank you to my friend Cleo Battle from Louisville and the foundation's nominating committee for their commitment to developing a slate of candidates that possess the experience and the talent required to help advise and guide our foundation. Congratulations to these nominees who have been nominated for a 3-year term. Donna Carpenter, Katie Callahan-Giobbe, Kathleen Frankfurt, Leonard Hoops, Al Hutchinson, Sheriff Karamat, Jorge Pesquera, and Annie Rummel. Ladies and gentlemen, our new foundation trustees. And as for the officers of the foundation, Don has asked me to serve for 1 more year. Additionally, my friend Stephanie Pace Brown from the Asheville CVB will roll into the chair-elect position, and Cleo will remain and continue in his role as immediate past chair. Thank you folks as well. And rounding out our executive committee for 2016 and 2017 is my Goomba buddy, Jason Fulvey from Visit Pittsburgh, and John Groh from the Rockford area CVB. Gentlemen, thank you for your service. We really appreciate that. Clearly, there are many positive changes happening at the association. During the past 6 months, I've worked closely with Don, his leadership team, Bob Lander, Gary Sherwin, and a host of other people to reestablish the direction of the organization and take it forward. The great news is we are indeed going forward, and everyone in this room has an opportunity to help and play a role in making that happen. One area in which you can make a difference is by supporting the foundation through our annual giving campaign. Now, in 2014, the foundation shifted its efforts from a capital campaign model to an annual giving campaign. That campaign, under the leadership of Craig Davis, got off to an outstanding start and then rolled into 2015 strong. However, without the proper oversight and leadership from some of our since departed staff, that program stumbled a bit last year. Some of you in this room may have even been confused about how the program was designed to work. But Craig made it abundantly clear back then, and we want to make that message clear again. The intention of the annual giving campaign is to get your organization's financial commitment on an annual basis. If we are to keep funding the research and programming for our industry's future, we must look to all of you in this room to do your part in sustaining that revenue stream. The foundation is seeking your commitment and the financial support on an annual giving basis. Every dollar that we raise is reinvested into initiatives that contribute to advancing our industry through research, advocacy, and education. And that's what our members continue to tell us are the top 3 priorities to all of them. By raising the level of professionalism in our industry through an ongoing educational effort, the foundation truly lays the groundwork for our industry now and well into the future. So, we look for your support. I ask for you to look out for those forms that will be coming to you to support the Destination and Travel Foundation, and ask for your commitment to the annual giving campaign that is so important to all of us and the future of our industry. Thanks very much for being here. I hope you have a terrific conference. And now I'd like to welcome my friend, our colleague, and maybe the worst dressed guy on the golf course yesterday, Mr. Don Welsh. Don?
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I decided not to wear my pajama bottoms with you from the golf course yesterday. I actually got dressed up today. Well, welcome to day 2 of what's an exciting program for you again today. I want to thank Joe, and I'll do proper recognition of Joe in just a second, because I must tell you, since starting here, I don't think there's been a day or a week that's gone by where I haven't talked to Joe at least 3 or 4 times. So I want to thank the foundation and the foundation board for what they've done. But before I get started about some exciting news that the foundation board is allowing us to launch into, I got to go back and recognize the event of last night. So Melvin, you and your team blew it out of the park. Those of you who were there, you did a fantastic job. Fantastic. We appreciated the team spirit that showed up yesterday for the event. And I want to, first of all, you know, we got a couple of these jerseys here. You know, a lot of people said to me, hey, you know, you're originally from Baltimore, you lived in Seattle, you lived in Chicago, and you're wearing the Vikings jersey. Well, Melvin, I love the Vikings, don't get me wrong, but the reality is I want to make sure that some of our guests get proper recognition. I thought it'd be fun for our friend Emma Perez, who won the Australia Award last night, to take this back to Australia. So, Emma, please accept this on our behalf. Thank you so much. Take care. See ya. And then my friend Karen Williams, even though she may not be following the Minnesota Vikings, she likes this quarterback, this guy Bridgewater right here, who came out of Louisville. You got to say Louisville. If you don't say Louisville, you say Louisville. So Karen, this is for you, and we want to present this to you. Thanks. And last but not least, we also want to recognize the team with the greatest spirit. And although there were plenty of Vikings fans there last night, they get sort of the homer thing last night. We want to recognize Tom Norwalk and the team from the Seattle Seahawks. Tom brought a record number of his team. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate the continued support. So now getting back to the business at hand, we had a great showing, and I also want to thank our friends again from the foundation. And I know they're trying to catch up with me on the notes right now, but I did want to say that we've had an incredible opportunity, and due to the foundation support, I've got some great news that I want to share with you today. They have been highly collaborative, and one of the things that Jack Johnson, you'll hear from Jack also, our advocacy officer, we have been talking about the importance of research for this organization. We've been talking about the importance of data for this organization, and then also the need really for a compliance officer to make sure that somehow everything we tell the board and our committees is actually getting done. And I'm pleased to tell you that the foundation board has approved those two positions. And I can't begin to thank them enough. That is critically important for us to do our work, and I just want to say thanks to them that this work is going to pair up with Jack Johnson, and Jack will have these two people that will be very important to his team to accomplish the goals we've had. So I'd like to give the foundation board a big thank you for doing that. So we've got a fun morning for you this morning. We've got a great group of speakers coming in. I also want to recognize, and I want to thank Deborah Sexton. Deborah's, again, came in, made it a point to get off an airplane from Singapore to be with us. Deborah, thank you so much for sponsoring yesterday's Abigail Posney. We heard great feedback on her, so thank you for what you do. We appreciate it. And I also want to recognize Michelle Mason, who got in this morning bright and early, President of Association 4. Michelle, will you please stand up so everybody can go find you and talk to you later on? Thank you for being here. Well, we got a lot to cover today, so I hope you had a little bit more caffeine than normal to sort of power you through the day. We got some great speakers, and I want to let you know again, we can't do these kind of things. We can't have the type of professional speakers that we're having here if it weren't for our sponsors. So again, the Business Exchange will open at 12:30, and if you've not been to the exhibit hall yet, it is a beautiful exhibit hall. There's plenty of food in there, plenty of beverage, and you'll have a chance to just enjoy one another and go see our sponsors and figure out how they can work with that. And now, speaking of sponsors, we've grown very close to Adam Sachs over the years. In my many years in the hotel business and also in the DMO world, I don't think there's a greater resource that we have there with the products that he has developed on our behalf. And ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to introduce our host this morning, who will present our keynote speaker this morning, Mr. Adam Sachs. Have a great morning. Just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back. She said, shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, shut up.
It's so very good to be with you this morning. I'd like to start out our time together by just sharing a few thoughts on why what you do in promoting your destinations is so vitally important to your local economies. Indeed, if you look at the hotel industry alone and its history over the last 35 years, spending by U.S. consumers on hotels per capita has increased 229%, while GDP per capita has only increased 77%. The hotel industry spending by U.S. consumers on the hotel industry has grown at more than twice the rate of growth as the overall economy, fueled by the work that you do. Now, it's not just U.S. consumers, because you're also marketing internationally. So I thought, what would happen if we looked at the same sort of perspective for international visits to major U.S. cities? So I just put together the top 20 U.S. cities, looked at the last decade of growth, compound annual growth over the last 10 years for the top 20 cities. And what we see is that in 18 out of those 20 cities, overseas visits to those cities grew at faster than the rate of real GDP. You are making a difference in driving growth in the industry that you represent. Now, you may say, well, Adam, what we really care about in my destination is jobs. I said, yeah, that's right. Jobs are vitally important. And so here's a chart that only an economist could love. How I love scatter plots. The void I would feel without them. But what we did is we just took the last decade of growth in the leisure and hospitality industry. So the whole of all the industries that are related to travelers. And looked at their growth on the left-hand axis over the last decade. And then looked at growth in total employment. And I looked at the top 100 counties in the US. In 98 out of those 100 top counties in the US, leisure and hospitality employment is more important, or has grown faster than total employment. Something's at work here. Well, one of those things that is at work is that you are promoting your destinations, and therefore job growth in the industries that are related to what you're promoting has far exceeded the rate of growth and employment in the broader economy. Now, if you want to know who those two counties are, this isn't true. You'll have to ask me later. I know some of you are wondering, is it me? No, it's not you. Okay. So you may say, well, that's fine. It's growing fast, but is it even that important? You know, a lot of times our economic development agencies are focused on, getting a new financial services company or a big insurance consumer support company. Well, we have an answer for that as well, which is that if you look at how important leisure and hospitality employment is as a share of the total, compared to here, finance, insurance, and real estate all put together, leisure and hospitality is more important in 99 out of 100 counties in the US. Now you're really wondering who the one is. All right. Now, if we look at the same thing for manufacturing, 70 cities out of 100, leisure and hospitality is more important than manufacturing. So what you're representing and promoting is not only growing faster, but it's larger than many of the industries that economic development agencies are targeting. And of course, as I never grow tired of saying, you're not only driving the travel economy, but you're actually setting the table. You're opening the door for all of economic development by building the brand, by building awareness, by building up transportation access, attracting events that are bringing in the same decision makers that make investment decisions, and by improving the quality of life in your place. The same things that make a place desirable to visit make a place desirable to invest and to live. Therefore, by promoting your destinations, you are driving economic development across the entire economic spectrum. And really, this is just my annual opportunity to say thank you, because it is an absolute privilege to partner with you in doing this, in promoting your destinations and driving local economic growth. So whether it's economic impact analysis or forecasting policy work, competitive budget analysis, we consider it a privilege to be able to partner with you and really drive your mission of developing the economies of your cities. Well, with that, it is my pleasure to introduce today's keynote, Jay Baer. Jay Baer is a marketing and online consumer service expert, an eye-opening keynote speaker who has advised more than 700 brands since 1994, including the UN, Nike, Cisco, Allstate, and 32 of the Fortune 500 companies. Jay is the most retweeted person in the world among digital marketers. He's the president of Convince and Convert, a consulting firm where he and his team help companies gain and keep more customers. Jay also publishes the world's #1 content marketing blog and the #1 marketing podcast, a daily email newsletter. There are also unconfirmed reports that Jay occasionally sleeps. He is a New York Times best-selling author of 5 books, an avid tequila collector, and a certified barbecue judge, of course. So, hang on to your seats. Here comes Jay Baer.
All right, so I know what you're thinking. Is that the official suit of the Minnesota Vikings? Not that I'm aware of, but we're in talks. We're in talks. It is a possibility to make that happen. Now, I am so excited that the theme of this year's event is a brand new day, because it is most definitely a brand new day in the era of sales and marketing. It's not necessarily an easy day, but it is definitely a new day. All of us in hospitality, in travel and tourism, in B2B, in B2C, in every company type, shape, and size in the world have now an overwhelming amount of competition for attention that we simply did not have just a short time ago. And I'm going to show you what I mean, a little mathematical exercise. I am not an economist per the suit, but I want to give you some actual math. Some actual math. Now, in 1977, the #1 TV show in this country was Happy Days. I am deceptively youthful looking, but I was alive when Happy Days was on its first run. I watched it every single week with my little brother. In 1977, Happy Days did a 31.5 rating. 31.5% of this country watched that show. Last year, #1 show, Big Bang Theory, did a 7.1 as the #1 show. Think about that. Every show you care about today, every show you watch, every show you tweet about, every show you discuss in the break room would have been canceled within 2 weeks, just a few years ago, for lack of ratings. Your audiences, visitors, groups, their attention does not clump the way it used to. I've been in marketing for 25 years, and when I was a young, brand new, fresh-faced, enthusiastic marketer, it was a lot easier. You could run a few messages in a few channels and reach your target audience and move behavior, and now it is, of course, much more difficult. Here's why. This chart from Nielsen shows the percentage of time spent on each media from 2010 to 2015. Newspapers, 31% decline in time spent. Magazine, 23% decline in time spent. Radio, 15% decline. Television, an 8% decline in time spent watching television, which I never thought I would see in my whole life, and here we are. Internet, a 105% increase in time spent. Now, just show of hands, how many of you spend more time online now than you did in 2010? Everybody with electricity seems to be the answer to that question, right? Of course we spend more time online, and that is an overwhelming challenge for everybody in marketing and everybody in sales, because the things that we have historically called the second screen, the phone, the tablet, the laptop, now they are the first screen. They are the primary way that visitors, groups, potential groups are accessing information. And when the second screen becomes the first screen, when the internet becomes the primary source of information and consideration, all bets are off in terms of the competitive set. All bets are off. I want to show you what I mean. This is an actual excerpt of my Facebook feed, okay? I didn't fake this for DMAI. This is real, okay? First thing I see on Facebook is this post from my friend Dave Thomas. Dave was until recently the head of social media strategy for Salesforce.com in San Francisco. Here he's talking about the fact that his son Conrad made a windmill at Lego camp. Aww. It's the kind of thing you see on Facebook. Next, I see this post from my friends at the Upland Brewing Company. Upland is the craft brewer in my current hometown of Bloomington, Indiana. Go Hoosiers. And apparently, the brewing staff at Upland went skydiving for a company outing. I'm not an economist, nor am I in HR, but I gotta tell you, if you own a brewery and you're thinking, we need to bond, we need a team building exercise, skydiving should not be that exercise under any condition. It's just not, it's just a bad idea. Now, I think everybody landed safely, or I suspect there would have been a second photo, for sure. But it's a good picture. Next, I see something from my wife bitching about something, and then I told you this is real. This is real Facebook. I'm not faking this. A few months ago, I was in Australia doing some work in the travel and tourism industry in Australia, and I brought my wife with me on that trip, which was a fantastic opportunity. Forgot I had that slide in the presentation. A 14-hour flight home, no words spoken. Watched like 7 movies. It was great. The fourth thing I see is this. This is an ad on Facebook. Somebody trying to sell me some LinkedIn training, which is not very good targeting, but an ad nonetheless. So let's recap, okay? So on Facebook, I see something from a friend, Dave, and then something from a company at Upland, and then something from a family member, and then something from another company, okay? It's a combination of personal messages and commercial messages. And that is only true online. That doesn't exist in the real world. Dave Thomas is not buying magazine ads to make sure I know his kid made a windmill. My wife is not complaining on the radio, thankfully. But online, it's all mixed together. It's not just Facebook. The same thing happens on Twitter. The same thing happens on Instagram. The same thing increasingly happens on Snapchat. And certainly in the email inbox, the same thing happens. You got an email that you don't want from your mom, followed by an email from some company. It's a combination of personal and commercial. And that is enormously challenging for all of us, because quite literally, you are competing for attention against your visitors' actual friends and family. So it's not really about, are you better at marketing than the destination next door? Do you have better rivers or attractions or bridges or activities or hotels or restaurants than the guys in the next state over? It's about, are you more interesting to me than my own wife? Because that is your competitor in that individual snapshot in time. And that's really, really tough. Really, really tough. And because that is so difficult, because you're actually in a competitive situation with every single thing you publish and every single message you create, all of this is way more work than it used to be. Just a show of hands, how many of you feel that sales and marketing is more work than it was 3 years ago? Yeah. Look how beleaguered we are. It's a lot more work. It's a lot more effort. And so what happens is that sales gets annoyed at all these other things that are now involved in the sales process, right? Because it's not a clean funnel anymore. They get annoyed, and marketing just gets stressed out because they're like, wow, should we be doing 360 video? Should we be doing Snapchat? What's Travel Oregon doing? Those guys are always cool. How come we always follow them? Like, as Adam said, we do a lot of work in my consulting firm with big brands, but we also do a lot of work in your industry. We've worked with Visit California and Wyoming Tourism and Iowa and Atlantic City and Phoenix and all these different places, and I can tell you firsthand that the pressure to be new and innovative and different and cool is incredibly, incredibly challenging in your industry. It creates a lot of angst. And so sales is doing their thing and marketing is doing their thing. Everybody's under enormous pressure, and it doesn't end up being a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario. It ends up being 1 + 1 = 1.5, which is not optimal. So what I want to talk to you about this morning is Smarketing. Is sales plus marketing working together in a meaningful, important, strategic, operationally efficient way to master what is the new normal? Because friends, this craziness that we're seeing in sales and marketing is not going to end. It's just going to get worse. The genie is not going back in the bottle regardless of how hard we push. There's a lot of reasons for doing this. And this is not just a kumbaya. You know what would be awesome? It would be so fantastic if we all worked together. Wouldn't that make us feel good? This is not a fluffy bunny presentation. I wouldn't waste your time like that, and I wouldn't waste my time. What I'm talking about is cold, hard cash. Aligned sales and marketing teams, people that embrace Smarketing, show a 400% higher annual revenue growth than teams that are not aligned. Who is interested in a 400% revenue growth? Everybody, I won't even make you raise your hands. Okay, there is a massive business rationale for bringing sales and marketing closer together. I want to tell you 5 keys to make this happen, 5 keys to do Smarketing right. The first is mutual understanding. See, the challenge is that sales and marketing today are essentially a bad marriage. You are hearing but not listening, seeing but not perceiving. Like salespeople know marketers, they run into them in the break room, but they think they're just playing with, right? They think they're just playing with toys and going to conferences. It's all a big mystery. And conversely, marketing knows salespeople. They see them roll in about 10:30, and they figure that all they do is listen to sports radio. It's all a big mystery. And this lack of actual familiarity, this reliance on assumptions, creates a lot of distrust and a lot of negativity. 87%, this is crazy, 87% of the terms, of the actual words and language that sales and marketing use to describe one another are negative. It's that damn sales department is that kind of thing, right? Those foolish marketers are wasting money. I'm sure this is familiar to many of you. So we have to overcome this at the fundamental level. And the only way you do that is to move from where we are now, which is sort of random dating, to a real relationship. And this requires, just like in the real world, spending time together. If you have a marketing meeting, somebody from sales should always be in every marketing meeting. Somebody from marketing should be in every sales meeting. You should have strategic, at least quarterly, shadow sessions where salespeople spend an entire day sitting with marketers at their desk to see what they actually do. Marketers should listen in on calls that salespeople make to prospects. The only way you can truly understand one another is to walk a mile in each other's shoes. And this does not happen by osmosis. It does not happen accidentally. This has to be a strategy and a plan that you put into practice in your organization. The second key to making Smarketing work is to achieve mutual accountability. See, also like a bad marriage, in a lot of cases, sales and marketing make promises to one another that are not kept. Promises about lead generation, promises about lead follow-up, promises about conversion rate, promises that simply fall by the wayside due to the day-to-day pressures of the actual job. And when those promises aren't kept, it grows suspicion and it eats away at trust. And so what we want to do is, if nothing else, start with the basics. Make sure that we're all working from the same math and committed to the same definitions. And that may sound obvious, but it's not. Only 45% of businesses in the United States have an accepted company-wide definition of a lead, where everybody can say this is actually a lead. We've got to start at the bottom and work our way up. And one of the ways we can do that is to mutually determine what is the success formula for your organization and your destination. If you have a revenue goal, you can work backwards to figure out what marketing needs to do and what sales needs to do to achieve that goal. We have to create this volume of revenue in groups. What's the average revenue per group? Okay, walk it back. And then what's the average conversion rate from leads to actual booked groups? How many leads do we need to make those numbers work? If you sit down in a room and hash this out, you can very easily determine marketing needs to deliver this many qualified leads in order for sales to work those leads, to convert those leads, to generate the revenue that we're both judged upon. But in my experience, working with lots and lots of organizations like yours, that does not happen very often. It's more of a random, well, we got some leads and yeah, we followed up on them. It's not math. Today, it's mostly anecdotes. And that's a dangerous way to run an organization over the long term. Once you've determined this mutual success formula, then you have to make a covenant. And a covenant, just like in marriage, is more than a promise. It is a solemn promise. It is a vow. Marketing says, I make a covenant to you, sales, that we will generate these leads, and these leads will be quality. And sales says, and we make a promise to you, a covenant that we will actually follow up and work those leads hard, regardless of where they came from. We're not going to treat leads like a disposable diaper. The third key in Smarketing is that marketers have to act more like salespeople. See, it wasn't that long ago that sales held all the cards. Sales was in charge of educating prospects. Sales was in charge of interacting with prospects. Sales were all-knowing. They had all the information and all the opportunity to interact with people. And now, of course, because of this massive proliferation and craziness and people using the internet, as I talked about, now marketing has a much bigger role to play in interacting with and nurturing and discussing and answering questions and things like that. And today, of course, there are more channels than ever, more ways for people to interact with you. They have more questions than ever, including questions that sometimes are mysterious. When I lived in Phoenix not that long ago, we did some work for the Phoenix CVB back in the day, and I was at a conference, and somebody said to me, not a conference like this, a different kind of conference, they said, oh, you're in Arizona. Do they still have covered wagons there? And I thought, no, but if that's the assumption, maybe that's a great idea. Maybe we should build a covered wagon attraction. Sometimes people ask questions that are painfully ridiculous, but you have to answer them, and I'll tell you why in a second. And along with that increase in questions comes more complaints. There is more complaints, more negativity than ever because of social media. It is much easier to complain with one hand on a smartphone than it is with two hands to write an email or certainly to wait on hold. And that's not going to change either. In fact, in the United Kingdom last year alone, an 800% increase in complaints about business in social media. 800%. Again, not going to change, just going to get worse. And so what happens today is that organizations and businesses are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed by this sort of tsunami of opportunity, by all the people who are talking and asking and complaining. And so what happens is they say, we can't get to all of it, so we're not even going to try. And so today, 1/3 of all complaints are never answered. That would have been unthinkable just a short time ago. 1/3 of all complaints are never answered. And that is a dangerous game to play. I did a tremendous amount of research on this topic recently for my brand new book, Hug Your Haters, which is all about modern customer service disruption and how to interact with customers and visitors and prospects in social media and beyond. A whole research project on the science of complaint. And what I discovered in this project is that when you do not answer somebody's question, it decreases their propensity to visit and decreases their advocacy on your behalf. Every time. Every time. Because after all, no response is a response. It's a response that says, we don't care enough about you to even address this, right? Ignoring visitors and potential visitors is not a path to success. Now, in the same research project, we found the exact opposite to also be true, that when you answer people's questions, it increases their propensity to visit and increases the likelihood that they will advocate on behalf of your destination or your organization every time and in every channel. Now, this occurs more frequently in social media because of the underlying dynamics of that, but it happens in every case. So what we want to do is find a way that marketing in particular can answer every question and every complaint every time. And not only is this critical for you, but it is massively critical that you spread this gospel to attractions, hotels, restaurants, everybody else in your region, because you all have to do it together. You wouldn't answer only 2/3 of the phone calls. But online, we're like, it's only Facebook. We don't need to answer that. But you do, and you can, and you should. Here's an example of somebody doing it well. This is a business called Wink Frozen Desserts, and Wink creates and manufactures a product that is sort of like yuppie Cool Whip. It's gluten-free, egg-free, peanut-free, it's everything free. It's 100 calories per pint, etc. They've got lots of flavors, mocha and strawberry and caramel, etc. They sell it, as you can see, in a pint that looks very similar to ice cream, and they actually merchandise it in grocery stores next to the ice cream, which can cause some confusion. In fact, a gentleman whose name on Facebook, this is actually his Facebook account, is Random Musings of a Barefoot Libertarian Hippie, which gives you some indication of how he feels about himself. That's his actual account name. So he bought some Wink and was not super happy about it. So he went on their Facebook page, and here's what he wrote on the Wink Facebook page.
I just bought this hoping to be able to enjoy some ice cream while on a low-carb diet. Too bad this ice cream, I put it in quotes because it tastes nothing like ice cream other than being cold, is absolutely disgusting. I got the cocoa dough version, and literally licking the freezer burnt ice shavings from inside the freezer would probably taste better than this. It's definitely going back to the store for a refund.
Now, three observations here. One, that guy's a jerk. Two, can you do that? Is that a thing? Like, if you buy something at the grocery store, like, I don't like it, can you return it for a refund? Because I've bought a lot of stuff in a grocery store, I'm like, that's gross. But I never thought, like, I'm taking this back. Like, I don't know, maybe, if it's got a mouse in it or something, yeah, I'm bringing it back. But just because I don't like it, I think that's on me, but whatever. Now, many of us, perhaps most of us, would get a comment like that on a Facebook page, and we'd say, yeah, I am out on that. I'm not even going to wade into the cesspool of this guy's comment, but it is a missed opportunity. You should answer every complaint every time. Here's how Wink handled it.
Hey, we're sorry to hear this, Random Musings. While Wink is definitely not ice cream, we do aim for an ice cream-like experience. The creator of Wink is a 25-year-old named Gabe, who has celiac disease and dairy intolerance. We do recommend letting your pint sit out for a few minutes before you dig in. If the store you purchased Wink in gives you trouble with the refund, please let us know. While we hope that everyone will love and enjoy Wink as much as we do, we realize that not everyone will. If we can help, please send us an email to info@winkfrozendesserts.com. And thanks for giving Wink a try.
Isn't that terrific? Human, factual, didn't take the bait, explained the backstory, Gabe, celiac disease, really, really well done, right? And the reason that they did that, the reason they took the time to get in there is because today, the interactions that you have with visitors, potential visitors, the interactions you have with groups and potential groups, it's now a spectator sport. Everybody can see how you handle it, or they can see if you choose to not handle it. If you ignore somebody on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, what have you, it's not just them that's being ignored. Everybody who's looking on can tell that you're also ignoring them. Same is true with Yelp, same is true with TripAdvisor. Now, the challenge is to make sure that when you do answer, you do not try to fight fire with fire. I'm sure many of you have seen circumstances where restaurants in particular are bad at this. Somebody says, I didn't like your soup, and the owner puts them on blast and says, you wouldn't know soup if it bit you. It's just like, and they just like, you know what I mean? And they just go crazy. And look, I get it. especially for small businesses, when somebody says they don't like it, it's like somebody saying your baby is ugly. I understand that that's painful and difficult, but you are never going to win new customers by blasting a current customer for expressing their opinion. It is a bad idea. So I try to follow the beat system, which is to be empathetic every time. Because sometimes, if you don't include empathy and information in your response, the way Gabe and the folks at Wink did, sometimes the response is worse than ignoring it. My friend Chris Rund lives in Bloomington, Indiana, as I do, and Chris is a graphic designer. Chris has a cat. This is not Chris's cat. That is a stock photo of a cat. But Chris, because he's a graphic designer and foolish, has white carpet, and his cat throws up, as cats do, hairballs and whatever. And so Chris was really upset that the cat was throwing up and staining his white carpet. And so he sent an email to the Meow Mix company. Meow Mix creates the cat food that Chris purchases, and he didn't get an email back. And so now he's double pissed, right? He's mad about the whole cat thing, and now he's mad that they ignored him, right? So now he's like supernova upset. And so he went to their Facebook page and said this.
Dear Meow Mix, cats throw up pretty regularly. Figured you guys would realize this, being cat experts and all. With this in mind, why do you insist on putting dyes in your products that cause ruined carpets, furniture, etc.? You know, when Kitty spews her half-digested meow yuck all over the place. Seriously, my cat doesn't give a shit what your product looks like in a bowl, and neither do I. What would be helpful and appreciated by legions of cat owners, I'm guessing, is if you take the worthless dyes out of your product and save us all a lot of frustration and ruined fabrics.
So Chris is upset. I think we can agree to that. To their credit, I guess, the Meow Mix people responded, but they did not follow the beat philosophy. Here's what they said.
Hi, Chris. All Meow Mix products are made with nutritious quality ingredients that meet the standards and specifications of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, Association of American Feed Control Officials, AAFCO, and the Food and Drug Administration, FDA. If you have further questions, our Consumer Affairs team will be able to help you. You can reach them at 1-877-MEOWMIX, 877-636-9649, or by visiting meowmix.com and clicking the Contact Us link at the bottom of the page.
Oh my God. Chris is now triple pissed, right? He's like, you have got to be kidding me. Do not acronym somebody to death. That's not really going to help your cause. So you see the difference between how Wink handled it and how Meow Mix handled it. One is empathetic and human, and one is clearly not. Remember that. Now, online success, because it's all in public now, it's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's not about whether the visitor is crazy with their accusations. It's about the spirit of genuine hospitality, and no industry understands that better than this industry. All of you should be great at this because it's in your DNA. The customer's not always right, but they absolutely deserve to be heard and responded to with kindness. I want you to remember my rule of reply only twice. My rule of reply only twice says that you never, ever, 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 ever respond to somebody in public more than twice. Because that's how you get into a tit for tat that is counterproductive. So if somebody's unhappy, you answer. If they're still unhappy, you answer a second time. If they come back a third time, you just walk away. Because you have done what you intended to do, which is demonstrate to all the onlookers that you care. Now, telephone, email differently, but online, reply only twice and no more, under any circumstances. I recently just finished this up, it's like an 8 or 10 page little PDF called The 13 Words You Never Use when replying to a customer. And a lot of times we use these words just because we're not quite sure about word choice, and it can be interpreted very differently. So send me an email, bonus@jaybaer.com, and I'll send you one of these. It's just a PDF. I'll email it back to you in a couple of days when I get back home, bonus@jaybaer.com. I think you'll find it useful, and anybody in your organization that's dealing with people on the front lines will benefit from that. Fourth key, sales has to act more like marketing. We talked about marketing acting more like sales, but sales has to do some of the things that marketing has done in the past as well, which includes using social media. Sales has to embrace social media. Some do, but many don't. And again, this is about cold hard cash. A lead is 7 times more likely to close when it is nurtured by a salesperson in social media. 7 times more likely to close. Holy cow. That's enormous. And I understand that a lot of salespeople, especially successful salespeople, say, I don't care what this slide says. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to continue to call prospects and email prospects because that's the way we've always done it. I understand that. But the customer is changing, and the customer's expectations are changing. These are my kids. I have two kids, both in high school. My daughter turns 18 in a few weeks. My son just turned 15 a couple days ago. Those are his birthday shoes. He's a sneaker freak. And look, they have smartphones, of course, but there's no device in the history of devices that is more inappropriately named than smartphone. Because of all the functions of that device, the one function they have zero interest in is a telephone. You can't get my son to talk on the phone at bayonet point. No way. And they don't check email either. The only time they check email is for purchase confirmation. He has 5,500 unread emails on his phone. How do you have that many emails? You're 15 years old. So they are the next generation of meeting planners. They are the next generation of potential visitors when they start making up their own mind about where to travel. And if your strategy is to call or email them, that's going to be an enormous challenge because they will not hear you. This actually works. 78% of salespeople who use social media outsell their peers who do not. It's just another way to break through the customer's wall. And marketing's responsibility in this is huge because marketing must enable and train the sales department to use social media effectively. You can't just go to a sales team and say, you guys should be using social media more. Here's a book of matches. Like you can't do that. Don't do that, right? Smarketing, you've got to work on this together. Look, this smarketing world, the always-on world, the more channels, more messages, more competition for attention, it isn't easy. But there's 3 things that smarketers do that I want you to do. The first is to be reactive. The best smarketers are reactive. Many of you, I think, know my friend Scott Stratton. Scott's a terrific author, speaker from Canada. When Spotify, the music service, many of you I'm sure know Spotify, when Spotify launched in Canada, which was a year or so after it launched in the US, Scott was unclear about it, and because he is a sort of digital native, he communicates with everybody on Twitter. And so Scott went on Twitter and sent a tweet to Spotify. He said,
"With Spotify being new to Canada, I don't really understand how to use it right, but damn, I like it."
So that's not really a complaint, it's more of an observation. And in many cases, businesses would see something like that and choose to not respond because something else is more acute over here. But Spotify is very, very smart. They are reactive. They are smarketers. So what they did is overnight, while Scott slept, they put together a custom playlist of Spotify songs and then tweeted Scott the playlist. The songs on the playlist were a coded message. The songs were, "Hey, Mr. Scott, welcome to the party. We're here for a good time, so don't worry about a thing. We're here when you need us. If you need us, just shout and we will come running." Wow. Talk about blowing somebody's mind and winning their heart. He's now a Spotify customer for life because they were reactive. The amazing thing about this, though, is that there is a song in the Spotify catalog, and the title of that song is "And." How poor of a songwriter are you? "Hey guys, I've got a great new idea for a single." "Awesome, what's it called?" "And." Okay, maybe. The best marketers are also opportunistic. One of my favorite examples of this in practice is from my friends at Hilton Suggests. Some of you may know the guys at Hilton Suggests. It's a program on Twitter where Hilton representatives listen to people talking on Twitter, and if they can help, they just jump in and help. Happens right here in Minneapolis not too long ago. Jen tweeted out, all right, Minneapolis friends, If You Will It is coming to town. I need the best coffee shops in town to recommend. Any suggestions? Now, she didn't tweet that at Hilton. She didn't tweet it at anybody in particular. She was just tweeting into the wind the way people do. You know what Twitter is? For you older folks, Twitter is CB radio on a computer. It's the exact same thing. Okay, think about it. It's the same thing. That's why I'm so good at it. When I was a kid driving around Nebraska with my grandfather, Breaker 19, air check, Smokey. I mean, I loved it. Loved it. Smokey and the Bandit, great film, watch it again. So the people at Hilton are always paying attention. They jumped into this and said, hey, Jen, we love coffee. Highly recommend 5-Watt Coffee and Spy House Coffee in Minneapolis. It's all about the atmosphere. Now, neither of those coffee houses are in a Hilton hotel. They're just being opportunistic. They're building a relationship that is going to pay off eventually. It's going to pay off eventually. And that's one of the key principles of Smarketing, right? Is to embrace the power of eventually, to understand that the things you do today are not necessarily going to pay off today, but they're going to pay off at some point in the future. And the third thing that Smarketers do is that they are proactive. Proactive. One of my favorite examples in the whole world is from KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines. KLM based in Amsterdam, as many of you probably know. KLM is fantastic at Smarketing and this kind of digital programs. But one of their best triumphs is actually offline, 3 dimensions, in the real world. What they used to do, like most airlines, is if somebody lost something on a plane, they lost their headphones, a paperback book, sunglasses, they would come through, flight attendants or the cleaning crew, they take a Post-it and say, these headphones were in seat 13C on flight 275. And they take the headphones and put them on a desk, like an actual piece of wood. Not a help desk, an actual piece of wood. And then they would make you fill out a form, and then somebody would try and find them and ship them back to you, and maybe it would take 2 weeks, or maybe they couldn't find it. Not a great system. So somebody at KLM said, well, wait a second. We can be more proactive than that. Most of the people who lose something are still in the airport, because most people connect in Amsterdam to go somewhere else. So they said, well, what if you find something, just text it to me. Text me, this is where it is with the seat number. I'll look it up in the flight manifest, and then we'll see if we can find the person while they're still in the airport. Hugely successful, massively proactive, became such a big deal they actually got some help. Check this out.
Ja, ontzettend leuk. Persoonlijk vind ik hem gewoon een aanwinst voor het bedrijf. En hij kan ook echt iets wat niemand anders kan.
Ons primaire doel is om gevonden voorwerpen zo snel mogelijk terug te brengen naar de eigenaar. We houden daarvoor social media in de gaten en de crew die na elke vlucht het vliegtuig checkt. Ik vind het ook wel heel erg leuk dat we natuurlijk een beetje hulp daarbij krijgen.
Trainen op spierkracht, uithoudingsvermogen en socialiseren. Ja, en als je die reacties ziet, dan is dat eigenlijk wel heel mooi.
Hij komt regelmatig langs, maar ja, ik moet ook eerlijk bekennen, ik verwen hem ook wel.
I should hand out tissues for that video. Isn't that amazing? Again, I'm not an economist, but unofficially, If a beagle brings you your sunglasses in the airport, chances of you flying KLM, 113% of the chances. Isn't that amazing? I love it. So it is a brand new day. It absolutely is. I want you to think about how marketing and sales can work together in your organization, how you can be reactive, how you can be opportunistic, how you can be proactive, how you can blow people's minds using Smarketing. If I can help you in any way, please let me know. Have a fantastic day. Thanks for being here. Cheers.
Wow, what a great way to start the morning. Jay, thank you so much for your insightful and thought-provoking comments this morning. I hope you enjoyed that. Hopefully this is the type of presentations that you need and you want to help you get better in what you're doing to make you more successful. So that's the focus. As I said, we've got a busy day for you today. We're going to kick off the concurrent sessions at 10 o'clock. So it's going to give you a nice little break right now, coffee and everything outside for you. I would ask that you please join us back here at 11:15 promptly for the beginning of the Global All-Stars. We have a great cast for you, and we'll be sharing some great thoughts with you then. Business Exchange opens at 12:30. I'm doing this so you can plan your day effectively. And at 4 o'clock, Bob Lander and Virginia Haley will come back here, and we're going to talk about the great things that have taken place with the DMAI program this past year. And then we've got Chip Conley coming in from Airbnb. He flew in specifically from San Francisco to be with us. And we're going to talk about this whole sharing economy that's being sort of led by companies like Airbnb and Uber and others. You won't want to miss that. And then the Hall of Fame presentation, which we're very excited about, will take place at 5 p.m. So thank you. Have a great break. We'll see you back here and enjoy your morning. Take care. Thank you.